It eats people. It literally eats people, and they're feeding these young children into this great mother kind of goddess.
So much more than fun in games at the Cartoon Cabal. Beyond what's just in the name at the Cartoon Cabal. See just at what cost comes fame at the Cartoon Cabal. So much more than fun in games at the Cartoon Cabal.
Hey everybody, it's the Cartoon Cabal. We're rolling our way through all of the episodes of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Always feels good to have a full title, because in a normal conversation you're just gonna say Eva, Ava. You choose one pronunciation. I don't think it matters. Does in Japan? I guess it's Ava in Japan, but yeah,
I think I've been saying Ava.
Yeah, okay. Now I'm saying it out loud. I'm not even sure, but whatever. Hi, this is Matt here. It's a paranoid American rocking the shades over there.
This is the top half of my Evangelion suit.
Yeah, they don't have goggles or anything, not yet. I don't think they do in the future either, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure.
Well, technically, they don't even really have heads.
Oh no! I'm talking about the pilots, not the Avas themselves. I guess you give the Avas themselves sunglasses too. That'd be pretty cool. And a cigar, maybe. Sunglasses and a cigar.
I feel that the amount of stress that they're under and how important all this is, they don't realize that they could probably be making demands. They could probably be demanding cigars if they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, there is a living or previously living creature in there, so they might enjoy a cigar.
It doesn't seem like beer's off the table. None of them are really interested.
Now, this episode, I have to go with the English title on this, Lilliputian Hitcher. That's great. That's a fantastic title. The Japanese title is a little more boring. What was that?
Oh no, it was Angel Invasion. Angel Invasion sounds cool.
Actually, when you say invasion, it sounds better. The translation I'm getting is Angel Infiltration, which is the same thing, but it does sound better when you just slightly tweak the name like that.
Angel Invasion. That now I have an expectation, and it makes sense after I saw this episode. I had to look up what the hell a Lilliputian Hitcher was.
That title spoke to me. I knew exactly. That's the guy holding on to Gulliver.
Gulliver's Travels. Although I'm most familiar with Gulliver's Travels through the Mickey Mouse comic book about Gulliver's Travels.
Okay, I did watch The Prestige. I've read the book, by the way, but I did watch The Prestige mid-'90s TV miniseries starring Ted Danson, I believe. Because, the year before was The Stand, which was the big miniseries that everybody watched. I feel like if I watched The Stand now, I wouldn't like it, but at the time it seemed awesome. So, of course, we wanted to watch Gulliver's Travels, too. So
the name basically breaks down to like a little person.
The Jack Black movie. I watched that too. Yeah, we got the little angels doing their thing in here, and I guess are the Lilliputian Hitchers? Is that the angels infiltrating the system? I thought it was a reference to the Ava pilots in comparison to the angels that they're fighting. Oh, no. I'm thinking those are the angels themselves, which I don't know if they said the name in this episode. There's a name on the wiki. The angel this week is Iruel, Ireul. So I thought that was the Lilliputian Hitcher, because it seems to be lots of microscopic, nanobots before they had the word nanobots. I don't think we had the word nanobots in 1996 or whatever. So they're basically nanobots, and
they make lots of references to protein structures. So it's almost like Kuru. It's almost like the nerve system gets Kuru, and then it slowly starts to decay a little bit. Yeah, it's like they're explaining what a nanobot is, like a protein construct, without actually having the word to use.
I also thought this was an interesting place in, I guess, the evolution of cyberpunk. There must be other animes that get into this, but as a guy who doesn't know anime that well and watches American sci-fi, I'm thinking of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2 has Contagion, where there's basically a computer virus that blows up a ship and goes to the Enterprise and almost blows up their ship. So an early version of a computer virus story where it's a good episode, but when you watch it, so ham-fisted, because anyone in the internet age is just like, this is ridiculous what they're saying. 10 years after this, Battlestar Galactica does one where the Galactica is, under attack by like Cylon viruses or whatever. So it is kind of a more recent trope, I think.
Yeah, I think there's slightly older ones. There's Snowpiercer, which I think is either early 90s or late 80s. And there's also a few different books by like William Gibson.
That Neuromancer was actually considered to be an influence on this episode. And the scientist lady, I need to give her Ritsuko, the daughter of Mervs.
I have to point out, just because I am who I am, but William Gibson also wrote a story called Burning Chrome, and inside Burning Chrome is one of the earliest, maybe the earliest reference in sci-fi fiction to adrenochrome.
Yeah,
by
sure.
Name. By name.
I read one of his later books. I was in university and I joined a book club, and everyone went off and there read this. There was whatever William Gibson's new book was at the new time. Look at the year 2000, 2001. And I just remember coming back. First, we did the Da Vinci Code because it was that time too. And I just kept coming back, and I had read the book and no one else actually had. There were lots of cute girls in the book club, though, so I kept coming back without having dinner.
Everyone's reading William Gibson. That sounds like a cool book club.
I did. Not everybody did, but they were supposed to. So that's the dark side of a book club. You might show up and find that not everyone's read the book. I think
they screwed up because they could have been learning stuff about adrenochrome.
So I have to convince you. I have to confess to you. I did not watch the Neon Genesis Evangelion episode Lilliputian Hitcher. That's not true. I watched it. It was enjoyable. I liked it. It's one of the better episodes, although you don't see much of the pilots. So, well, you see a lot of the pilots, but not much of that.
I think this was a great one. This one, it gives you a sense, a scale of how big NERV really is. Again, there's like tiny little ants working all over the place. And it made me think back to one of the previous episodes where if they screwed up the mission, not only were they going to take out the Ava, but like everyone at NERV was basically going to be taken out. And I'm just wondering now, every time I see like a background character, was that guy going to get taken out if these three pilots didn't come together and defeat one of these previous angels? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. What is it? In the movie Clerks, the whole argument that the first Death Star was probably morally correct to blow up. It just had the Imperial troops on it. But the second was under construction. There were plumbers, contractors, all those sorts of things. Guys just trying to make a few bucks building that Death Star.
I think I'm starting to come around and understand a little bit of the Ava philosophy, because it's clearly lasted this long for a reason. And it's not just because it's like random weird anime mech fighters, because honestly, there's not a whole lot of that. It looks like that from the outskirts, but it's pretty much like 10% maybe mech suits, and everything else is just kind of weird, surreal. But one of the things that started dawning on me is that it's not necessarily serious or silly or like any one thing. It's hard to put it into one single category. And I think that it's very fluid. So you will have episodes that are campy on purpose and over the top and have certain like visual cues that you don't get in all the other episodes. It's almost like a ball that's getting passed around. Like right now in the 2020s, it's kind of common for a TV series to kind of pass between different directors episode to episode, and they each have like their own little feel. This is sort of like an early version of that inside of an anime. And I think that it's almost highlighted by even the music at the very end changes. I kind of feel like it's this like story that's getting passed around by a bunch of different people.
We are getting to the point where a key is turning in the production of this series. Things actually are going to get a little different here. I've mentioned before there was a 1993 presentation document for this, which outlined the whole series. And the first 12 episodes mostly followed that. I mentioned they shuffled a few episodes around, but basically the first 12 episodes were exactly what they were going to be. 13 was sent to 16. So what was going to happen here happens 3 episodes later. But Anno, the creator of the show, Hideki Anno, starts having second thoughts about the show right here. So I'll read what it says here. It says he initially intended to give the story a happy ending, but during production and about this point, he realized he had created characters that were too problematic, so he changed his plans, which that's a nice ominous statement that I don't think spoils anything going on. Just tells us things might be changing a bit here. Also, at this point, Anno, during the airing of the series, began to criticize otaku. So maybe at this point, before this, it was just like otaku stuff to please otaku. We're getting to the point where it's like we're making fun of you, which this episode do that? Because it's like, here, ogle these 14-year-olds, you know, for the 3 seconds that don't really have anything to do with the rest of the episode.
I wonder, too, did he know that this was going to go? It's 26 episodes, right?
I think the plan was all, and budgeting and stuff. It's always like, I think 26 was the order. I know one episode is, let's see, 26 is, so 26. Oh, excuse me. We're looking at 25, extra 20. Sorry, I'm looking at the complementary ending episodes. Okay. Yeah, everything's wrapped up by 1997. And then several years later, I think there was a kind of a postscript thing. So there are a few things past the 26, but this is the main series, with a budget and a plan, which at this point.
Okay, so when he said that he envisioned this having a happy ending coming to a close over the course of 26 episodes, but he gets halfway in and decides it's not going to have a happy ending anymore.
Right, because the characters are too broken. I mean, Rei is mostly broken. Masato to a certain point is broken. Ritsuko in this episode, I guess, is, like she comes to a certain terms with her mother as a woman scientist or mother. We don't know which and how many, but everyone in the show is a little broken and they are living in an apocalypse. Is that what he means by problematic? Because Shinji's problematic in that he's just annoying and frustrating, right? I would say.
Yeah, if there were more people in the world that survived, you wouldn't notice him as much. But now, since he represents such a larger ratio of people on the planet, I think it makes it a little more annoying. And it's also maybe a little bit easier to nip this one in the bud, so to speak. Like get rid of the annoying people.
Maybe, I don't know. But I'm sorry. I'm also thinking about who is he referring to as problematic characters? Daddy, Gendo, I guess he's pretty problematic because even if he does something positive, he still comes across as distinctly evil. I mean, he dresses that way, He dresses like a supervillain, Shinji Daddy.
Well, I think pretty much everyone is problematic in this one because they're literally sending 14-year-olds up to die constantly. And anytime that there's a chance that, 1 in a million that we're going to get this right and otherwise everyone dies, it's like, let's take that chance every single time. And that's only broken people that can make those kind of decisions so quickly, too.
No, I'm just trying to work out, like, who is problematic. And I feel like is Rei problematic because there's no one in there anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he means problematic like a bad person, but I think
There's
like,
a thing of just like you're too broken. Maybe that's the better thing because problematic's a loaded term now, and we are looking at translation. So I guess let's say broken people. Can broken people have a happy ending? And then you could say no.
Not all of them, statistically.
Yeah, Asuka, is she broken? She's just fiery, right?
Well, we don't know yet, right? She has been around for like 3 or 4 episodes, and it does seem like she's coming in hot. And usually, people that are coming in hot meet sort of a fiery end. So I don't know. I'm not ready to make any predictions, but I do think that everyone could be problematic enough. And I don't know, coming to a happy ending doesn't seem like what this series is about. I mean, the happy ending's kind of a done deal already, right? Most of the world has been decimated. This is post-apocalyptic times. Fallen angels have come down and they're attacking humans. This already seems like worst case scenario beyond anything I've ever considered as an actual worst case scenario. So I don't know. Even if you defeat all the angels, I feel like now I'm always looking over my back every single day. And like, did the angels come back again?
Yeah. It's the end of 1984 where you're having your glass of victory gin at the cafe, wondering if that's when you're about to take a bullet in the back of the head.
Exactly, 100%. And then just times 100 because now we're talking about freaking supernatural alien entity Nephilim that came from some other dimension.
Something else interesting here is Mitsuyo Iso took a crack at the script, and his version was way more sci-fi, apparently. When Anno did his draft, he made it less sci-fi, but I think he was upping the biology aspect, which to me still seems relatively sci-fi.
Yeah, well, this whole entire episode also, it kind of implies that this computer system that's running everything for NERV is literally her mom, right? It's what's her name? Ritsuko? Is that the scientist name?
Ritsuko, yeah.
Ritsuko. Like, so her mom was the person that designed, I guess, like the software, or maybe the motherboards. I wish they would have said that she made the motherboards, but that her mom basically created this system of these three Magi, and that the three Magi are, I'm gonna summarize some of this. Each one is almost like its own little computer system. It's like its own processor that specializes in something completely different. And the three of these work together like the three oracles of Minority Report. And like, so there's probably some Philip K. Dick influence in here. And these three oracles work together to make these decisions and slowly evolve. They're literally describing artificial intelligence in sort of early 1990s terms without calling it AI. And that these three brains are actually the uploaded consciousness or like quantized consciousness of her mom. And that she refers to the system early on in this episode. She's like, everything's checked out. Mother's in good shape. So she literally considers this whole NERV software system her mother. And I think that that's pretty monumental in terms of this being more than just like a regular anime.
Well, you said she made the software, but the hardware is more important because one, just inside is weirdly modeled like a brain. It's got notes everywhere with like apparently information that people would kill for, and then the motherboard seems to be a living, bleeding brain of some kind, some organic substance.
Well, and because the angel that they fight in this one is essentially presenting itself as if it were a cyber attack, but the cyber attack is happening at a biological level. It's happening with, like, again, like we're saying, like proteins or nanobots. So it's kind of showing two things. One, it's showing this concept of like hacking and shutting down systems and putting up little firewalls because it got into one of the different three Magi GPUs. So they had to sort of air gap the other one and they slowed it down. They actually, I think, like underclocked NERV, right? They underclock the software running in order to slow down the spread of these proteins the same way that you would underclock a computer theoretically so that the virus would spread just a little bit slower. So they're using some pretty advanced terminology and they're mixing it with like some pretty cool occult biological verbiage.
I also like how Anna's bureaucracy stuff just slips in a little bit here because the angel is able to slip in through a relatively minor imperfection in the structure, right? And they're like, well, corners get cut when you have to build this place in an apocalypse with impending angel attacks. So, I do like that being acknowledged as there was a little imperfection. The angel just came in through that.
I like that. And it kind of is like a nod to this Gnostic angle of Ava and the biological aspect, that there's always going to be like some little flaw. And there was one other reference to like the biological nature of this nerve system that they kind of call it a pituitary gland, that there's actually a pituitary system inside these simulation bodies that they're testing with under the water. And that this pituitary gland, since the simulation bodies don't have heads, then they live inside the bodies of the units. So again, they're definitely spreading out an entire cohesive framework for this biological neural computer system that's kind of running NERV.
Now the industrialists that supposedly screwed up several episodes ago, their things though could not be infiltrated by biological stuff. Their stuff was purely technical, right? So I'm just saying, like in that episode, NERV came out on top because the machine went haywire. But in this one's kind of like the same thing happening to NERV. And as Gendo says, tell the government something different happened, Yeah. Like NERV's so secretive, like the same thing happened that publicly happened 5 episodes or whatever ago. But he just like, tell the government something different happened and we will move on. Well, I think actually next episode is them calling on it, if I'm correct. But just that's his take, right? Like we're NERV, we can keep it secretive.
Well, he told them to shut down the alarm as if the issue had been contained, but it was clearly just starting to ramp up. So he realized that there's another level of politics that they're kind of playing behind the scenes. I kind of like that.
Although if you see enough Star Trek, there is a turn that damn alarm off sometimes when things get really bad, you know.
This was not bad though.
Just turn it off. I cannot think with a clarion constantly claxing.
That's usually the captain saying that though. This time it was definitely not the captain saying, oh, well, captain of NERV, right?
I think he counts as the captain of NERV. I mean,
does the director of the CIA have more say than the president?
Daddy Bush might have. I don't know.
Well, you get 2 for 1. He's a BOGO deal.
Yeah. You don't even, the problem doesn't even come up with him, does he? No problems with that man.
There was another thing too here about the mother connection, that this whole NERV software is basically her mom, and she mentions that just like there's these 3 Magi, which by the way are named after the 3 wise men in the East and Gospel of Matthew, Balthazar, Gaspar, and Melchior. And in this one, Melchior gets infiltrated, and then it starts to leak into Balthazar, I believe. And Gaspar's the one that's left untouched by this protein virus angel. And at the end of the episode, she's basically talking a little about it more mom. She's like, I hate my mom. But she says that there was 3 aspects of her life. There was the scientist, there was the mother, and there was the woman. And she said that she'll never understand the mother because she's not going to have kids, that she respected her as a scientist, but that she hated her as a woman. And that out of those 3 different personalities, each one was assigned to a different one of the 3 Magi, and that the one that was untouched by the virus was the woman part, which is the one part that she hated from her mom. It was this weird, like kind of a deep cut, and I don't know if you caught it at the very end.
Oh yeah, I was sitting there thinking a little bit of Freudian, you know, like ego, super ego. I was trying to work out which one is which. Does woman have to be the super ego because that was the last one, the one that wasn't corrupted? Does that automatically make it?
Well, so they all survive and they go back to normal, except they have absorbed the angel, right? In this case, it's not even like there was a fight. It was that the angel came in, infiltrated Mother, this AI system, and they decided to basically, the angel had overplayed its hand and it's now part of their system. So they're like, well, let's just kill the system, meaning like, let's actually wipe all the software. And the angel was rational enough to just submit and integrate itself into the AI. So now, doesn't that mean that the 3 Magi, the AI system that runs all of this Evangelion program, is technically half fallen angel, right? It's like got Nephilim code in it.
You consider the Avas themselves, right? So might as well, you know, the more the merrier. Know your enemy by incorporating your enemy into your infrastructure, perhaps.
I guess so. It sounds efficient, right? If you go to war and you win a battle, you're basically collecting all the loot. You're getting all the different guns and ammo and stuff. It's how it works in real life. It's how it works in video games. Here's
a question. Is Magi actually Mother? Is that actually Ritsuko's mother? And for comparison, I think I brought up maybe on this podcast before, but there's the Battlestar Galactica prequel, Caprica, in which a girl gets so much social information that it can recreate people. So when herself and a few other people die in a terrorist attack or whatever, they're recreated inside the internet, basically. And it's like, are these they act like the real people? They seem like the real people. And the whole thing about that show is trying, eventually they end up putting her consciousness into a Cylon because the body was blown up in that terrorist attack. She's not getting a new organic body if it's the same person at all. And that had me thinking about the mother here. Is this technically the mother that no longer gets to have a human body?
I think that you're always going to be like a Barry Bonds in the Baseball Hall of Fame. You're going to have like an asterisk by your name. So it would make the most sense. Even in this episode, they mention, I believe, that it's like a 7th generation organic computer. And what that means is that they're actually talking about the original generations of computing. And I think when this series came out, it was on like 5th generation. So since this was supposed to take place in the future, they just kind of added 2 to it. But that's the best way I think that you could refer to uploaded consciousness or clones. You just timestamp it. You're just like, this is 7th generation mom. And then when 8th generation mom comes out, that one will technically be a little bit better. But sometimes people are like, man, I really prefer that 5th generation, right? Like everyone has their own favorite vintage. And I feel like that's kind of how this has to play out, because it can't just be mom. It's got to be mom version 2 or mom version 9.
Yeah. At the same time, though, does that mean there's actually a consciousness in there? Because we've been up to this episode when we have heard Magi like, oh, they have AI calling the shots for them, right? Whereas
I don't want to get too philosophical and deep on this, but I mean, so consciousness, the same way that someone figured out that it's 12 frames per second. Once you can achieve, I think, 12 frames per second of animation showing you like different pictures, eventually your brain will be like, oh, this is motion that I'm seeing. Let me go ahead and put all this in context. And then from 12, they doubled it and got 24. And this is like original animation was usually 24 frames a second. Now it's like usually it's like 30 or 60, or it gets crazy, 120 and 240. But basically all we had to do was figure out how to show you 12 pictures per second, and your brain would translate that to motion. And I think the same way that it's not like consciousness has to be super complex and like really clever to pull off. It's basically just has to trick you 12 times per second. And I think that if it's in line with our eyesight and our vision, our hearing, our smelling, like any of our other senses, it's pretty dull compared to the resolution that we'd be capable of creating, right? Like we can create video that plays so fast that our brains and our eyes would never detect all the frames that are coming out of it. So I think that consciousness, we could probably simulate it at a certain point that'll dwarf our ability to tell whether it's consciousness or not. And those like beyond the Turing test, like whatever comes after the Turing test will probably also get solved.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's like consciousness is indiscrete. So anything electronic we are electronic, but anything digital has some sort of discrete. There's always something binary at the basis of it all. Obviously the current version
not
of this
or not quantum computing, right? Quantum computing.
It was about quantum computing.
Yeah,
it was about to throw out quantum computing, which I say, if this episode were done now, and actually, if we get to the newer movies, maybe they do go quantum computing in the end for those. I don't know because I haven't seen them yet. So
I don't want to be sacrilege here, but this does seem like a series that would be justified in coming out with a sequel or. I don't want to say remake, but like some kind of like an appendix of sorts, right? Because so much has happened that they could capitalize on and just expand this even more.
Well, the interesting thing is we get to episode 26, right? And then a year later, there's another ending. There's 2 endings to this show, basically.
So is the movie like a choose your own adventure thing?
I think I haven't seen it yet, and I think that's one of the reasons this show's a little intimidating, because it starts to bifurcate and then have a remake by the same guy. So it's just like, where do I start? So we just went to start at the beginning because I guess that's where you start.
I mean, who's to say that there can't be a 1990s anime mech battle cartoon David Lynch, right? Like just because they made Ava and they didn't make Twin Peaks, like it could still have that same level of frustrating creativity that has a million different ways that it's going in at all times, and none of them necessarily have to come to a nice, neat ending. If there's anything I've learned watching anime with you, specifically when we're getting to the Ghibli, it's that it lacks that formulaic beginning, middle, end resolution. Like sometimes that doesn't play out in that exact way. So I'm kind of excited to see how that does or doesn't work.
No, I guess the Lynch thing works. I'm thinking like Lost Highway. I can pretty much remember what happens in the last 20 minutes of that film, but I couldn't sit here and explain to you what happens in the last 20 minutes of that film, I
feel the same way about Mulholland Drive. I remember the end with the homeless guy, like turning into like weird shapes and sizes. But I don't remember a whole lot of the other parts. Some parts, very specific ones.
Oh, I remember. There's the weird thing about Mulholland Drive. It was actually going to be a TV pilot, and the first 75% of the movie.
I could totally see that. Dude, the first half of that movie does feel like it could have been a TV show with a little bit of censorship.
most of the R-rated stuff kicks in after Silencio, right? That's where it starts. It becomes like a hard R. Before that, there's not actually a whole lot of like R-rated material, but the end certainly makes up for it. Love the movie, by the way. Not sitting here criticizing or anything. Let's see. I think I'm pretty. Oh, the other thing is the central area of NERV is called central dogma. So that stuck out to me a little bit. It's like only the true believers can be in central dogma, is it?
Yeah, I think that we're beyond. Again, I'm going to go back to the VO in episode 1. I think we're over the head of whoever the VO coordinator guy was. Like at this point, I'm fully convinced that they are successfully looking into very advanced terminology for AI and computing and protein synthesis, in addition to like all the different occult references. So now when they have a name for something, I'm no longer thinking they just pulled it out of a box of cool sounding names. Like a lot of these things do tend to play out in ways that give them their namesake, like they're justified.
And we do get a reference that the angel's main goal seems to be breaking down to the level where Adam is.
Yes. And okay, so and that was why they were like, we have to do anything we can to prevent it from getting to Adam. Adam is basically the driving force behind what all the angels are trying to get to. And I found this really interesting breakdown of like a PhD in philosophy, this lady Mariana Ortego, and she has a paper that she wrote. And I don't know if this was like part of her PhD. It's like it got very, very detailed. It's called "My Father, He Killed Me. My Mother, She Ate Me. Self-Desire Engendering and the Mother of Neon Genesis Evangelion." It's like a whole paper about it, but she goes into how the way that the 3 different Magi absorb this angel, it's like a cannibalistic act, and that it's basically describing that NERV and this mother and the 3 Magi, it's cannibalistic in nature. So what it does is it eats people. It literally eats people, and they're feeding these young children into this great mother kind of goddess, if you want to go down that road. And it's like they're sacrificing children to this mother goddess, and that there's this whole extra detail because she likens this to there was a story in the Zohar, I think, and it talks about Adam and Eve and God, what was it? Samael. It says, so there's a story in the Zohar. Adam and Eve kill and consume Samael's child, and then the boy's voice ends up getting trapped inside of them. It's almost like an Edgar Allan Poe kind of story, where now they can like hear this child's voice inside of them. And this is sort of the framework for the Avas, right? Like you feed a child inside of this big mud like thing that's being owned and driven by mother, essentially, and then the voice is like inside them and it moves around. Although they can get back out, but it's kind of like a cannibalism, and then you get purged, and then it eats you again, and then it purges you, and then it eats you again.
Binge and purge, and again, when Shinji was in with Asuka and her Ava, they made the point that Asuka had to change languages because the psychic interference in Japanese was too much. So it's clearly on a metaphysical level. It's not just a plug and play, just to be very literal on it. There's other layers. I think by this episode, like you have to be sold on Ava or not. I kind of feel like we're a little bit beyond that threshold already. So if you get this far in, you probably like it. Or if you've gotten this far and you're like waiting to see if it gets any better, I'm sure it is going to get better, but I feel like this is its fever pitch. Yeah, this isn't the place to say it, but I'd say if you've watched the first 6 episodes and it's not doing it for you, you could probably, tap out. Although if you're here for episode 13, you did not tap out. So, yeah, I don't know. 6 might even be early. Although if I don't like a show by an episode in, maybe 2 at the most, then I don't know if I usually give it much of a chance. I had to push myself through the first few of these episodes until I started to get an appreciation. And really, it's only with the show up of the new redhead. I can never remember her name on the spot. Asuka.
Asuka. It's as soon as Asuka showed
Langley
up,
if you want.
Langley, that's right. I need to remember Langley. So as soon as Langley shows up, I feel that the show gets infinitely more interesting. Not because of her, but just because she's like this missing piece, this extra catalyst that makes all the other characters more interesting.
Third piece of the Magi, right? I mean, that's how I always like to bring up Star Trek. That's Kirk, Spock, McCoy. We got the 3 pilots, with Ray as your super logical Spock or whatever, and Asuka as your emotional McCoy, and Shinji as the lamest Kirk you can get.
So if the 3 pilots are the 3 Magi, and the 3 Magi are the 3 aspects of the mom's life, then you've got a scientist, a mother, and a woman. So Asuka's, I assume, is the woman, right? Yeah.
He holds up the longest because Ray goes out first. Ray may be powerful, but Ray is first infiltrated because she doesn't care. Does that make her a scientist?
Yeah. So then that
Shinji's a mother. I like that. Yeah, Shinji's the mother.
That makes sense.
Why not? Yeah, no, I like that. And Shinji seems like he put up just a little bit like, should I give up? And then he does give up, which I think we're going to get to in a few more episodes, if I'm correct. That's going to be a major theme coming up very soon anyway.
All right, spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was going to be this episode. They pushed it up a few. I learned that from reading the trivia. Shall we wind this one down for today then? Yeah,
let's put the Avas back into Mother.
Okay. What's going on with you then? What do you want to throw out for the good people today?
Just if you like this series, you'll definitely like every other series I got going on. Check out Occult Disney, of course. Also check out Under the Docks. You can find that on the Paranoid American podcast, or there's just an Under the Docks podcast. I'm kind of just throwing that one out there as bait in case some normie out there that has no idea about any of this other content just kind of stumbles across it. But we're reviewing classic conspiracy documentaries from the 80s and 90s and kind of dipping our toe into some more commercial, like mainstream ones. But really, if you want to like revisit the nostalgia of late 90s, early 2000s conspiracy documentaries, I highly recommend Under the Docks, DOCS.
I'll just double down on the Occult Disney since I'm there too. I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this, it makes sense to listen to that. And do our Ghiblies, and especially our Anime Annuary, where we looked at a few other animes, even a little more hardcore than Ava gets. Perfect Blue certainly eats Ava's lunch for being disturbing.
We've got so many more disturbing ones to get to now, too.
Yeah. Let's disturb ourselves.
American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies, all of that and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers, they'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret societies, all of these and more on our sticker sheets.
Explore the unique with Paranoid American sticker sheets. Unearth tales of cryptids, cults, and mysteries through each sticker. These won't last long. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
All American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies, all of that and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers, they'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret societies, all of these and more on our sticker sheets.
What the heck are you waiting for? Discover the extraordinary with Paranoid American sticker sheets. From cryptids in the night to cults out of sight, each sticker is a unique find. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
Paranoid. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain, give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real, you will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hey, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out out nuclear bomb, distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Man, it's not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.